So look, this was about to be real. A whole bunch of people probably won't like it, but it's time we accept the truth. It's time we talk about it because this is one of those things that's been hovering over our community for years. Some of y'all might get mad, but don't get mad at me. Be mad at the facts. So, black people come in every shade on the spectrum, from deep, rich mahogany to light caramel and everything in between. And that's not random, that's biology. The ability to produce all those shades, that comes from us, black women. There's a real scientific reason for it, and it's called the Eve gene, a mitochondrial gene that only black women carry. And this ain't no rumor or TikTok theory. This is real science. Scientists trace all modern humans back to a black woman in Africa, mitochondrial Eve. So when we say we are the blueprint, we mean it. A black woman and a black man can have a baby that's light skinned with blue eyes and blonde hair. Yes, that's possible. But let a white woman and a white man have a baby that comes out dark skinned, and somebody got some explaining to do. Now, let's shut down one of the oldest lies out there, that light skinned slaves had it better, that they were treated with care, that they were spared. No, they weren't. Slave masters didn't care which shade you were, light, dark, or in between. They assaulted, beat, sold, and discarded people as they pleased. There were light skinned women on plantations, many of them their own children, and they still had them working in the fields like everybody else. Yes, there were some people working in the house, but don't believe that only light skinned folks were there. There were dark skinned house servants too. Look at the historical photos. Look at the story of the spy we told. She was dark skinned and in the house. And those women you see breastfeeding white babies in old pictures, they were inside too. So stop romanticizing slavery and believing that being light skinned was some kind of prize. It wasn't. That's just trauma being passed around and dressed up as status. Now let's talk about New Orleans and those messy quadroon balls, where young, light skinned girls, some barely teenagers, were presented to rich white men. People try to make it sound elegant, like it was some Cinderella story. But the truth, it was exploitation. They weren't being rescued or married, they were being used for you know what and then discarded. Some of them had children by these men, and they never looked back. That's not love, that's abuse in a ballroom gown, and we need to stop glorifying it. And the most heartbreaking part, we picked up the master's tool and started using them on each other. People still whisper about the sororities, how this one only wanted light skinned girls and that one only accepted dark skinned ones. Instead of building each other up, we started drawing lines by colors. And in New Orleans, we had the brown paper bag test. If you were darker than the paper bag, you were denied access, denied opportunity, denied your people. But let's be clear, colorism cuts both ways. We also had people who were too light getting hate, treated like they weren't black enough, judged for features they have no control over. And that part of the pain, that's real too. But you know my rule. If your mama or your daddy black, then you black too. Period. So why do we treat people like outsiders for embracing who they are? You mad because they are proud to be black? Make that make sense.
Now, let's talk about Willie Lynch and why he was so important. He was a British slave owner who came to the American colonies in 1712 to teach slave masters how to control black people. He gave a speech, later called the Willie Lynch Letter, where he basically laid out a blueprint for division. He said, use fear, distrust, and envy to control the slaves. Divide them by age, skin tone, gender, and make the light skin hate the dark skin. Make the young distrust the old. If you do this, you will control them for at least 300 years, maybe even forever. And let's pause right there because I don't want you to miss how wild this is. Yes, they actually had a man going around giving speeches on how to keep people enslaved. So, let that sink in. Black people were so powerful, so capable, so much of a threat that they had to bring in an outside consultant to teach folks how to break us. They banned us from reading, beat us for looking someone in the eye, and still had to go listen to a TED talk on how to keep us in line? Whew, that's deep. You know you're dealing with something powerful when, even stripped of everything, they still had to come up with strategies just to keep you down. And what was that strategy? Divide them by skin tone, turn them against each other, and make them distrust, envy, and hate one another. Because unity was dangerous. And guess what happened? Exactly what he said would happen. We're still caught up in texture wars and shade wars, arguing about good hair, coils versus curls, saying who's too black and who's not black enough. Meanwhile, the real enemy, the system that built the hate, just sit back and watches. Whew, if we only knew our power. And let me say this too, because I don't want anybody to twist this message. This is not us versus white people. This is not about guilt or blame or creating any more division. This is us versus hate. Us versus everything they used to break us down and keep us divided. Because they always knew that unity was dangerous. They knew our strength. And this time we know it too. So let's keep it 100. This is the part of history they like to sprinkle in, just enough to confuse you, but never enough to tell you the whole truth. Because if we leave it up to them to tell it, they'll keep editing the story, they'll erase the pain, glamorize the abuse, and call it legacy. But we know better now. And if we don't tell the full story, they'll keep giving us the version that keeps us divided. So let's keep it real with each other. Because if Willie Lynch could teach white folks how to divide us, then we could teach ourselves how to heal. And y'all know how that algorithm works when I do stuff like this. Remember to comment, like, and share to help keep this story alive. And remember to subscribe for more stories that they won't put in your textbook. And tag somebody, y'all. Help us out.